Hey there, guys, it's That Anxious Gamer. Today I'm going to be doing a full review and giving you a lot of gameplay tips for couch co-op or split screen Baldur's Gate 3. So I've seen there's not been many people that's actually been covering the split screen variant of the game. So I'm going to give you all my experiences. Me and my wife have basically been playing exclusively in this game mode. So we're starting out in character customization. But what I want to say, if you go to the chapters of this video, or click in the video description, you're going to see a link to some of my other videos and also give full timestamps so you can jump to exactly which part you would want. But let's start out in character customization. So basically, as soon as both controllers X or A buttons are pushed, you will see that the screen is split exactly like you're seeing on screen right now, and you are both able to customize your character. So basically, this works exactly like it would if you were playing single player. However, you do have the controller interface. So this is like if you were playing on the PS5. I'm almost certain that's what they're going to do. So the interface is a little different. By pushing the RB and LB button, as you can see on screen, you're going to be moving the menu back and forth between your origin, your race, your class, background, etc. So basically, you both can look at your characters, review your characters, and, have input with each other. So like, for instance, when me and my wife were doing this, we were basically talking back and forth, discussing our characters, our classes, and the like. So I think they did a really, really good job here. And there's no real problems in this particular part of character customization. And I think they hit it out of the park in this part of the game for split screen co-op. All right, guys, we're going directly into the gameplay. So do not worry, guys. I'm going to be cutting out all major story spoilers. This is what you're going to see directly after the first cutscene of the game. And this is me and my wife waking up. So as you can see on split screen, I'm on the right, she's on the left. And basically, our screen is just split directly down the middle. You're going to see us being able to move around. Now, this is where things start to get a little bit more complicated and where I have more things to talk about. So you can see I'm a Drow Ranger and she's a half-elf barbarian. I will say this, guys, depending on your PC specs, you are going to need to mess around a little bit here. I'm going to be explaining a little bit about the user interface, but the first thing I want to say is that Baldur's Gate 3, when you're playing it in split-screen co-op in gameplay, it does use quite a bit more system resources. I have a fairly high-end system. Just for reference, I have a i7 13700K, which is a pretty new Intel i7, and I have a 3080 Ti RTX NVIDIA graphics card. So even with my graphics card, guys, at 1440p, there is some stuttering at certain points. I do have most of the settings maxed out, but my system pretty much far exceeds what the recommendations are for this game. As you're going to be seeing in game, they're using a radial system. So basically what happens in the game, guys, when you push the RB and LB button or the right bumper, left bumper, either on PlayStation or an Xbox controller, me and my wife use a PlayStation controller, but it doesn't really matter except for the button prompts. You're going to see that all of your abilities are able to be mapped to these radial icons. So what you can do is you can basically hit X or the square button on a PlayStation controller, and you can basically map, as you see me doing here on the right of the screen, you can actually map different actions to these radial menus. Now, how do I think they did in this part of the game? They did good. The only two things I will have to say is performance-wise, again, you're going to be taking a big hit, guys, especially like if one person's out of combat, one person's in combat, you're separated, that kind of stuff. You can tell the system is stressed and it uses a lot more system resources. Another thing that can kind of happen, and you'll see later, and I'm going to show examples of it, is when you're in a cutscene and another person's still exploring around, there can be some lag, latency that can happen. So yeah, I think they did well here, but it depends on your system resources. A big thing I want to say is that I'm running this at 1440p and we are playing on a gaming monitor. I would not recommend that, guys. I do travel work for a living. I would absolutely recommend you have at least a 50-inch TV playing at least at 1440p for this to look good, because you will get a little dizzy. There is perspective issues where since the screens are so close together, you'll kind of be dizzy after a while. It's like, wait, am I looking at her screen? Am I looking at my screen? Or how do we find each other? How do we actually stay together? And I'll try to show some examples of that coming up, but I just wanted to note that. How did they do overall? Guys, there's so few games right now that even do split screen co-op. To be able to play with 2 players for only $60 was incredible. Lorian Studios did a 10 out of 10, in my opinion, in the split screen aspect of the game in terms of gameplay, except for the performance optimization and, resource issues that I'm discussing right now, which, guys, they can be quite bad. I've had freezes happen for 5 to 7 seconds in game. So these aren't like micro stutters, a couple frame rates dropped here and there. Most of the time things go well, but when it bugs out, it does bug out. Another thing I really want to explain, guys, and this is extremely important to understand, if you are playing in split screen co-op, please play in DirectX 11. Me and my wife have tried several times in Vulkan, and even though it seems to work fine in single player, when you do split screen co-op, Vulkan will oftentimes crash, and you will lose quite a bit of your progress. So I would not recommend using Vulkan if you're doing split screen or couch co-op. So let's get on to the next part of the video. So guys, now we are going to be looking at cutscenes or dialogue in game. So if you see on the right hand side, me, the Drow Ranger, is actually initiating a conversation. But on the left, my wife is actually being able to freely move around in the world and basically do anything that you're able to do outside of dialogue. However, as you've seen, she stepped up close to me. She pressed the A or X button, depending on which controller you're using. And now she can listen in, quote unquote. What does that mean? That means instead of split screen, now she's just listening to the dialogue I'm using. So it's more for a narrative focused experience. So the dialogue system can be different. If you and your partner basically want to make choices together, then basically have them listen in, and then you guys discuss which dialogue option you can choose. I know there's also Twitch integration, so if you guys are streaming this, you can actually get input from a Twitch audience as well to see what choices they would want you to make. So that's a really cool feature that I wanted to note. But basically, guys, for dialogue, this is how it works, which is that either player can initiate dialogue by themselves and can fully go through that dialogue while the other player is in gameplay. So I don't think I've ever seen any other game that does it this way. Almost all other games, right, it joins you back up if dialogue is initiated. Now, I will say that is for both its benefit and its detriment. On the one hand, that allows you total freedom. One of you can be pursuing dialogue with a character that the other may not really care about. On the other hand, I think performance-wise, this definitely hurts. You can tell when one player's in dialogue and another player's actually in gameplay, just walking around. There is an increased frequency of stuttering, so that's something to consider. Also, it's definitely jarring on screen because one player can be kind of trying to be immersed in this cinematic dialogue experience and rolling dice, while the other player is maybe off doing something totally else and basically exploring the world or looting. So how you feel about this is ultimately going to come down to personal preference. I think I prefer this method just simply because it allows you to be completely free and for both players to totally do what they want. You don't have that kind of horrible jarring sensation where oh, my wife Lily initiated combat and I was about to loot a chest, but now I get TP'd to where she is to listen to combat, right? To listen to dialogue, I mean, not combat. I think it was a good thing because they're trying to make it more immersive, but by making it more immersive, there definitely was a few missed opportunities, and it can be jarring in specific instances. So hopefully this explains the dialogue system in-game for split-screen co-op. Let's move on. So guys, now we are getting to the meat and potatoes of the game, the combat. How does the combat feel in split-screen co-op? Guys, the combat feels excellent. I think if Lorian did one thing right, it's they nailed the split-screen co-op for the combat section. And I think that's really, really important because I think ultimately, if the combat feels engaging and exciting, then you're going to be having fun in the game. While exploration in the other parts can be a little bit more difficult, I think in combat, the split screen works fantastically. So basically how this works, guys, is you use your A or X button to be able to move around, so your movement in the turn, and then you basically push your RB button to do, you open the radial wheel and actually access actions. So if you can see, my wife here on the left of the screen has just opened her radial menu, and now she's scrolling around and basically can pick actions. For instance, she could pick Firebolt here and throw the Firebolt at the actual imp, which is what she's showing. When you target a particular character or a particular monster, you will see the percentage chance of you hitting, and then there you go. You roll the dice for the actual attack roll and hit. So, guys, the combat works fantastically. I will say this, if you notice when she's opened her radial menu, there's another RB in the top right of the radial icon. What that means is you can switch to up to 3 radial menus. So if you hit the RB button, it will go to the second radial menu. And if you hit the RB button, it will go to the third radial menu. For actions and bonus actions at lower levels, you probably only need 1 to maybe 2 radial menus when you're at low levels and if you're a melee character. However, I want to clarify that for rangers, for mages, especially like wizards, when I was playing around with Gale, you need 3+ radial menus. Like spell slots, it becomes very complicated. I would say that the game plays extremely well in controller mode, split screen controller mode, for specifically melee characters. However, the more spells you have, guys, and I'm sure it's going to only get worse as you level up, the more complicated it's going to be and the less intuitive the radial menu is going to work. Now, I just want to make it absolutely clear, single player with mouse and keyboard on this game is the better option. The controller does work good and it is fun, but it does not beat the mouse and keyboard, especially, guys, for spells. And I hate to say that, like, I played a lot in early access messing around. I played in the full game in both, normal single player and also controller mode, which split screen, for guys of you who don't know, split screen requires you to have 2 controllers. It doesn't have to be PlayStation 5 controllers, but it does have to be controllers. And you do notice on any ranged character, any mage, you noticed definitely a worse user interface. There's no question about it. I think they did a great job, but I do prefer the mouse and keyboard setup a lot. And I just want to say that if you are able to play on mouse and keyboard, then you're going to notice a difference when you switch to controller, and that difference probably will not be entirely pleasant. However, it does not take away from the enjoyment of the game, and I think they did still an extremely good job with the limitations of the controller. This is just kind of like RTS, where there's a lot of buttons to map, guys, and it is very, very difficult to kind of do that on a controller. One quick tip that I wanted to give that I think is really invaluable: if you press down on the D-pad on the controller, you will be able to stealth your party. Guys, this is very, very useful because stealth is very, very good in this game, especially if you're playing rogues or rangers or anybody that can utilize stealth. This is super good. So down on the D-pad will help you out there. And I did not know this, and then I actually picked this up from a Reddit thread, and it is very invaluable. So now that we've seen combat and how that plays out, let's move on to the next part of the video. So guys, now we are moving into the character sheet, the right trigger, and the inventory, guys. So basically, guys, when you want to actually long rest, when you want to go into your alchemy menu, when you want to go into your character sheet, when you want to go into your inventory, what you're going to do is you're going to press the right trigger on your controller. As you can see on the right-hand side of my screen, I'm mixing and matching. I'm equipping items. So specifically, I'm playing Drizzt Do'Unden. I'm playing specifically role-playing as a character. I want him to have scimitars because scimitars are what his character uses in the books. So as you can see, I'm in the character sheet. On the left side of the video, my wife, Lily the Barbarian, is looking at different weapon values. So basically, if you hover over a weapon that your class is, I believe it's proficient in, that you can basically equip, then you will be able to have like a side-by-side comparison, which is a really great feature in this game. So you'll be able to see, like for instance there, how the hand axe compares to the great axe. And again, guys, this is just showcasing in game. I'm talking in dialogue to Lizelle while my wife is in the inventory menu. So the right trigger is going to give you a lot of actions, guys. You're going to be able to do your long rest there. You're going to be able to do your short rest. You're going to be able to do your character sheet. You're going to be able to access alchemy. The character sheet is probably the single biggest thing in this game that is important to utilize, as you're going to be really messing with your inventory a lot, guys. You're going to be equipping items that you get. Itemization is extremely important in this game. So yeah, I wanted to keep this part of the video short because I think it's somewhat self-explanatory, but press right trigger, radial menu will open, and you'll be able to access everything right here that I've shown. Now, one thing that is important to note here, guys, if you see in the left part, you will actually see the map, guys. The map can also be accessed by hitting the select button on the Xbox. I think it's the sync button. It's specifically the button on the PS5 controller that you use to sync your controller via Bluetooth. So yeah, the left button on the top of the controller will access the map, guys. And the map is going to be your biggest friend in this game because it is very important. So I wanted to explain the inventory and the map in a very quick and easy to understand method. Again, press the right trigger, radial menu will open, and then you'll be accessing all of those functions. So guys, now we're going to be looking at character progression or leveling up. Now there's two ways to do this. The first way to do this is hit the right trigger and hit the level up button in the radial menu. The second way to do this is to hit the left trigger and then push RB, and you will actually be able to level up your character whenever a level up is available. So both of these ways work. I just wanted to give you two options to do the same thing. This is me and Lily going from level 1 to level 2. Obviously, as you go up in levels, you'll be gaining feats, you'll be gaining character points, you'll be able to choose more things. The first to second level is really, really early in the game, and I did this specifically to not put too many spoilers, but this is pretty much how it looks like, guys, on the controller or split screen setup. You can pretty much choose everything here. The interface works great. It's extremely self-explanatory. I didn't want to drag this out too long, but I just wanted to cover very quickly how character progression and leveling up works when you're playing in split screen mode. So let's move on. Okay guys, we're getting near the end of the video here. I just want to show you a couple tips that might help you in your split screen journey. So if you see, guys, things are lighting up on the screen and we're seeing items pop up. So how you're doing that, guys, is you're pushing the right thumbstick in. And what that will do, guys, is it will allow you to view items in the ground if your perception allows for it. So you'll basically highlight what you can pick up. This is very useful, guys. Not all items will show up. I want to note that very clearly. You can't rely on this. This is just an easy way to see what you can loot at a glance. If you're doing this on the PC version, it would be the left alt button. So the left alt button or the right thumbstick in will, I believe they call that the R3 button prompt, will basically give you a quick look at what's in your surroundings, and if your perception allows for it, what you can particularly loot. So I believe this is governed by your perception skills because it seems like different people can see different things from my experiences. But yeah, I wanted to give you that quick little tip. Again, when you're looking at your minimap, guys, if you hit the share button or the select button on a controller, it will pop up a large map that you can then scroll around with and transport to different fast travel locations. So those are the two big tips, along with the left D-pad, guys. If you push down on the left D-pad, you will stealth your whole party. So I think those 2 to 3 tips are really what I have that has actually been like game changing, or that is very easy to miss, and the tutorials don't really talk about that much. So hopefully these little tips help you out, guys. And now let's get to the final review section and conclusion of the video. So now, guys, we are getting finally to the review of this game in split screen co-op. Guys, I just want to say this right away. Lorien Studios has hit this out of the park. Baldur's Gate 3 is an incredible, engaging, thrilling experience in split screen co-op. It is so incredible that for $60 in the year 2023, you can play like it was 2005 or 2008 again in split screen. Nobody else is doing this. They are destroying other gaming companies by their example, guys. It's like everybody always says, the best way to lead is by example. Lorien has done an incredible job in this regards. I think that all the little technical hiccups, the controller interface issues, and the freezes that I mentioned never took away me and my wife's enjoyment of the game. And I think that's the most important part. If you're immersed, if you're having a good time, if you're engaged in the gameplay, then really all the little technical hiccups that will get better over time aren't going to matter that much. So guys, I want to say this. If you have a cousin, an uncle, a brother, a sister, a partner, husband and wife, and you want to have a great bonding experience, for $60, this is probably the best bang for your buck that you can get, because you have something that you're sharing together. Me and my wife are having an incredible experience bonding over this game, and I think it's just an absolute triumph. I think the game is fantastic, and if you're on the fence, you should definitely buy this game. 100%, I would recommend it. And I hope this video has helped you make that purchasing decision. If you like this video, please crush the like, please crush the subscribe button. It would help me out so much. And any videos that you want to see on this channel, all you have to do is ask. I do all of these for you guys. Now, to summarize in the video, I want to tell you one last tip, and that is actually saving the game, guys, saving the game. So you're going to notice, guys, that when you're actually playing in co-op or split screen, you are going to have an issue in that you can't almost save the game. There is a way to do this, guys, and basically the way you do this is one person needs to disconnect, and then the other person actually is able to save the game. So as you're going through the game, you will get auto saves, but really the only way to save the game is to actually have somebody quit out, and then when you hit the start button, as you're seeing right here, you can then actually save your game. So this is something that was really confusing to me and my wife. And I just wanted to note this, because if you don't know this, you're going to be like really confused on how you can actually save your game, which is pretty important in an RPG where there's a lot of choices and there are still a significant number of bugs. So hopefully, guys, that summarizes the entire video. I hope I helped you out. Hit the like, hit the sub button, and I'll see you guys in the next one.